A blind veteran, a loyal service dog, no crime, no warning. But in broad daylight, police drew their tasers, and when the dog hit the ground, what happened next made the nation stop breathing. At the heart of downtown, under the sharp glare of a high noon sun, the world turned silent in an instant. Cars honked lazily. Pedestrians hustled by with coffee cups in hand. A delivery truck idled at a red light. Everything seemed normal until it wasn't. He stood there, an old man with a faded veteran's cap, the bill sun-bleached and fraying. His right hand gripped a white cane. His left held tightly to the harness of a large Belgian Malinois, whose vest read in clear blue stitching, "Service dog, do not distract." They weren't moving fast. They didn't need to. Step by step, the pair approached the curb. The dog looked calm, alert, guiding with precision. The man's head turned slightly to listen for the crosswalk beep that hadn't come yet. Then the sirens began. First one, then 3 patrol cars swerved into view, tires screeching, doors flung open, shouting. People stopped, phones lifted. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. A young woman waiting for the bus looked over, puzzled. "Is that a blind guy?" she whispered. A child clutched his mother's hand, sensing something was wrong. From the center of the chaos, the man stood still, clearly startled. He leaned closer to his dog as if to listen through him. And then, "Put the dog down, now!" The command came loud and harsh. The man flinched. "He's my guide," he said, his voice trembling but clear. "He's a trained service dog." The officers didn't pause, didn't listen. Their hands were already at their belts. "Final warning," one of them barked. The old man raised his hands slowly, one still gripping the cane, the other shaking. "He's not dangerous," he tried again. "Please, crack!" The first taser snapped through the air like a whip. The dog yelped, twisted midair, and slammed to the ground. Crack! The second shot hit the man in the chest. He crumpled next to the dog, arms sprawled, cane rolling out of reach. Gasps echoed. A drink hit the pavement. Someone screamed. The dog, strong and proud just seconds ago, now lay twitching, his eyes wide with pain. The veteran, still conscious, let out a raw, guttural scream that no one would ever forget. "Don't hurt him! That's my eyes! That's my partner!" And then, just like that, everything went still. The officers froze, weapons still drawn. The city, once buzzing with routine noise, fell into stunned silence. In that one breathless moment, as the man clawed toward his fallen companion, and onlookers forgot how to blink, something sacred had been broken. A bond, a trust, a line no one expected would be crossed, was shattered. And somewhere deep in the heart of the city, justice held its breath. His name was Owen Rayner, and long before he became a headline, he was the guy who never left a brother behind. He served 16 years in the U.S. Air Force as part of an elite pararescue team, the kind of missions no one hears about: flooded valleys, burning helicopters, collapsing compounds. Owen was always first in and last out. He didn't run from danger. He ran toward it. In 2009, during a mission outside Kandahar, he swam through an overflowing river to reach a wrecked Humvee. The vehicle was upside down, sinking fast. 2 soldiers were trapped inside, both unconscious. Owen went under 3 times, dragging them out one by one. He didn't ask for medals. He never talked about it. But 5 years later, in 2014, while clearing an abandoned ammo depot, a secondary blast ripped through the structure. Shrapnel blinded him instantly. His unit said he never screamed. He just kept asking if the others made it out. That's who Owen was, even in darkness, still thinking of others. After discharge, the silence was worse than the blindness. The world got smaller. Faces disappeared. Independence became a memory. Until Ghost arrived. Ghost was no ordinary dog, a Belgian Malinois, lean and sharp, trained for signal detection and tactical response. He once worked with engineers defusing roadside bombs. He could smell lithium batteries buried beneath concrete. But he wasn't just precise. He was calm, loyal, and painfully intuitive. When Ghost met Owen at a VA rehabilitation program, something clicked. Not out of obedience, but recognition. Like they both saw scars no one else could. They trained together for months. Ghost learned Owen's pace, his patterns, his silences. He led him through traffic, sat beside him in grocery stores, nudged his hand when anxiety crept in during nightmares. He didn't just guide Owen's body, he guarded his soul. At night, Owen would sit by the window, listening to the city he could no longer see. Ghost rested his head on Owen's feet, always alert, always there. Ghost became more than eyes. He became memory. anchor. That's why, on that pavement, when the tasers struck, it wasn't just a man and a dog who fell. It was the collapse of a bond forged in blood, silence, and survival. It was supposed to be a simple trip, a quiet afternoon, a refill at the pharmacy 2 blocks from home. Ghost had made the walk dozens of times before, guiding Owen through the buzz of downtown like clockwork, one paw in front of the other, every movement precise, measured, protective. But that day, something changed. A bystander, distracted and uninformed, saw Ghost leading Owen across the sidewalk without a leash and assumed danger. They didn't see the vest. They didn't see the man's eyes, unfocused, distant, unseeing. They dialed 911 and said the words that always spark fire. There's a dangerous-looking dog off-leash near the corner of 5th and Main. What followed was a disaster in fast forward. 3 squad cars arrived with lights blaring and tires squealing. Ghost paused mid-step, his ears twitching, instinctively placing himself between Owen and the approaching noise. Owen, sensing tension, tightened his grip on Ghost's harness. "What's going on?" he whispered, turning toward the sound of doors slamming. "Get on the ground," someone shouted. I'm blind," Owen stammered, holding up his cane. "This is my service dog." But the officers weren't listening. They weren't looking. Their hands hovered near their belts. To them, it wasn't a veteran or a guide dog. It was just a non-compliant man with a big dog in a busy public space. Owen took a step back, his foot catching the edge of the curb. "We're not doing anything wrong," he said, barely above a whisper. One officer drew his taser. "Final warning." Ghost growled softly, more out of confusion than aggression, shifting closer to Owen's leg. And then, snap. The first taser fired. Ghost jerked violently, letting out a scream Owen had never heard before. Raw, sharp, utterly broken. A second taser followed. Owen dropped instantly, his body crumpling onto the concrete as his cane clattered away. He reached blindly, crawling toward the familiar warmth now lying still beside him. "Don't hurt him," he cried out, voice cracking. "He's not just a dog, he's my eyes." People stopped. Phones came up, a woman screamed, a grocery bag spilled onto the sidewalk, apples rolling. But for Owen, there was only silence. No more guiding pause, no gentle nudge, just pavement, and the horrifying sound of Ghost no longer moving. It started with a scream, not from Owen or Ghost, but from a woman across the street who had witnessed the entire thing. She dropped her coffee and ran toward them, yelling for help. But the officers were already pulling back, holstering their tasers, talking over her panic with clipped radio codes and rehearsed commands. A teenage girl nearby had caught everything on her phone. Hands shaking, she pressed live. In seconds, hundreds were watching, then thousands. By the time Ghost lay motionless and Owen was cuffed on the sidewalk, the footage had made its way to Reddit, then Twitter, then everywhere. Within 30 minutes, the video hit 2.5 million views. People weren't just watching, they were furious. The hashtags exploded. Justice for Ghost, blind veteran attacked, hero silenced. What started as a bystander's livestream became a national outcry. Clips were spliced, slowed down, analyzed frame by frame. The moment Ghost was hit, the sound Owen made when he screamed, the second taser, the silence after. Every news outlet picked it up. CNN ran a segment titled "Service Dog or Threat." Fox News called it "A blind hero betrayed." CBS simply said, "What have we become?" In Denver, a class of 5th graders drew cards for Ghost. In Boston, veterans stood outside the police department holding folded flags. In Austin, a little boy chalked a portrait of Ghost on the sidewalk with bright blue eyes and 4 stars above his head. He wrote, "Don't hurt my hero." Even those who had never served, never owned a dog, never felt the sharp edge of injustice, they felt this. Because it wasn't just about a dog or a veteran. It was about dignity, respect, and the moment the country realized we had failed someone who never stopped fighting for us. From apartment balconies to newsroom panels, America leaned in, and for the first time in a long time, it was watching together. Hundreds of miles away, in the windswept outskirts of Montana, a rusted satellite dish on the roof of an old barracks blinked to life. Inside, a group of men and women, some gray-haired, some scarred, all forgotten by the world they once served, watched the footage in silence. The name Owen Rayner hit like a punch to the chest. He wasn't just a face on a screen. He was one of them, a brother, a rescuer, a man who'd once pulled a squad leader out of a burning chopper in the dead of night. To the world, he was just another disabled vet. To Echo 9, he was legend. No speeches, no hesitation, just a single encrypted message passed from one dusty phone to another. Mobilize. They didn't need orders. They didn't need permission. They packed in silence. Ammo bags replaced by medical kits, flags folded into jacket linings, old patches sewn onto modern gear. They rolled out in silence. Armored jeeps, black bikes, tactical SUVs with no markings, no sirens, no noise, just headlights piercing the dusk and engines rumbling like thunder under restraint. To outsiders, they looked like ghosts from a forgotten war. But to Owen, they were coming home. They came without warning. No press, no police escort, no announcement. One moment, the intersection buzzed with reporters, officers pacing nervously, civilians gathered behind yellow tape. The next, engines cut and a row of unmarked military vehicles blocked off both ends of the street. Doors opened in perfect sync. Boots hit pavement, heavy, deliberate. No uniforms, but every movement screamed discipline. Their patches were faded, some stitched by hand, some held together by duct tape and grit. These weren't soldiers on duty, they were warriors with memory. At the front stood Major Lana Pierce, a tall woman with a steel gray braid and a calmness that made people nervous. She didn't flinch. She didn't shout. She walked straight toward the commanding officer on scene, Captain Dorsey, badge shining under the news camera lights. He tried to speak, to assert control. She cut him off, reached into her pocket, and pulled out a small speaker, tapping it once. From the tiny device came a sound that shattered the crowd's composure. Owen's voice, hoarse and broken. "Don't hurt him, he's my eyes." Then the sharp yelp of Ghost, the pop of tasers, then silence. Lana let it play, let every crackle burn through the awkward stillness. Then, with eyes locked on the captain, she spoke. "You just tased a man who saved 6 lives in Ramadi, a man who couldn't even see your weapons coming." She stepped closer. "You dropped a dog that located mines faster than machines, a dog that never once broke protocol until you broke him." The captain swallowed hard. His team stood frozen behind him, unsure whether to speak or stand down. One officer looked like he might step forward, until a second jeep door opened, and another veteran stepped out, holding a folded flag in one hand and a photo of Owen in uniform in the other. Lana continued, her voice low but sharp. "You didn't stop to ask. You didn't stop to think. You saw a man who didn't comply fast enough, and a dog you didn't understand. And you fired." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A woman pressed a hand over her mouth. A child clutched a chalk drawing of Ghost. Lana pulled a second device from her vest, a direct link to the Justice Department. Federal oversight is en route, internal affairs, civil rights, animal welfare, all of it, and until they arrive. She turned, facing the barricade her team had formed. "This intersection belongs to us." And just like that, the city paused again, but this time not out of fear, out of respect. The steady beeping of a heart monitor was the first sound Owen heard as consciousness crept back in. His body felt heavy, like sandbags strapped to his limbs, but his mind, as always, went straight to the only thing that mattered. He tried to speak, lips dry and cracked, but managed just 2 words. "Ghost, okay?" The nurse beside him froze mid-check. Her eyes softened. She leaned down and whispered gently, "He's still here. He didn't leave you. Took a hit, but he's fighting, just like you." Owen's eyelids fluttered. Relief flooded through his face, followed by exhaustion. His hand shifted weakly across the sheets, searching. She understood. She squeezed it. "Give us 1 minute." The door opened softly moments later, followed by the faint hum of wheels. Owen didn't need sight to know who had entered. He felt it, that familiar gravity, that silent presence. Then came a sound he knew better than his own breath, a slow, fragile thump of a tail. Ghost. The dog was bandaged along his side, one leg wrapped, his face visibly bruised. But he was alive, awake, breathing. A vet walked beside him, pushing the mobile stretcher with care. "Didn't want to stay in recovery without you," he said, trying to smile. "Stubborn as hell." Owen reached out, fingers shaking, and touched Ghost's snout. The dog leaned into his palm as much as his injured body would allow. For a long moment, neither moved. No one in the room dared speak. Tears welled in Owen's eyes, slipping down the sides of his face. His voice was barely audible, but full of everything he couldn't say. "We made it, like we always do." No medals, no speeches, just one man, and the soul tethered to his own. And in that sterile hospital room, beneath fluorescent lights and machines humming soft lullabies, something unbreakable was stitched back together. Not just skin or bone, but trust. The following morning, the city woke to something it hadn't seen in years, a wall of silence. More than 500 veterans and civilians stood shoulder to shoulder outside City Hall. No microphones, no chants, no fists raised. Each wore a black armband. One word stitched in silver thread, ghost. Some held flags, others held photos of their own service dogs, their fallen friends, their scars. They didn't come for revenge. They came for recognition. Spray-painted in bold white letters across the pavement were just 7 words. When heroes go unrecognized, justice has fallen asleep. People paused as they walked by. Some cried, some saluted. Inside the building, officials peered through blinds, unsure how to respond to a protest that didn't shout, only stood. And somewhere, in a hospital room across town, a blind man rested his hand on warm fur, unaware that outside, the world was finally seeing. Call to action, never forget. If this story moved you, if your chest tightened when Ghost hit the ground, if your heart broke when Owen reached out blindly for his partner, then don't let this moment fade, because somewhere out there are thousands more like them. Heroes without headlines, dogs without medals, men and women who gave everything and asked for nothing. If you believe service doesn't end when the war does, if you believe loyalty, love, and sacrifice deserve to be seen, like, share, subscribe, not for clicks, not for views, but because some heroes don't carry rifles, they carry trust and memory and unwavering hearts, and the least we can do is never look away. Honor them, remember them, speak for them,